Okay, my name's Karlee. I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date is May 6th of 2021. Thank you, Danielle, for that introduction. That's very good and very fitting. The defiance is still there, 100%. Something I work on, but we just do our best to follow the program, and our actions, and that's what I've tried to do. So I first want to say thank you to my mom. She's been the person who's been by my side, my entire life, like through all the ups and downs. My mother is the steadfast person who has never turned her back on me. And sorry, I'm nervous. And so yeah, I just want to thank her first. I mean, without that relationship, I don't know where I would be truly. She's picked me up multiple times and just dealt with a lot of crazy over the years. So thank you, Mom. I grew up really well. I mean, I had a good family. My parents were married for like 30 years. I have both sets of grandparents that were still married until they pass away. So I had a lot of good examples of healthy family relationships and stability. Um, I have an older brother. I don't know why both of us turned out to be like this. My parents, they didn't drink or anything. It was pretty rare. So I didn't grow up like with either of my parents doing drugs or drinking. It was just not that's not like a normal thing. But we would be at the lake and stuff every weekend during the summer. It was very much like a easygoing, lifestyle. So we grew up like that, and so I saw drinking and stuff, but it wasn't in the house. I remember probably around like junior high is whenever things started kicking off with my brother. So it was like during the opiate epidemic, and he went like straight in hard for that. And at that time, I think maybe I had like smoked pot like one time. So I'm like seeing him like doing some crazy stuff, like stealing from us. I mean, it was wild. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I will never be like that. And I was very judgmental towards him. And I was very like firm that I would just never be like that. And, what do you know? That was not the case. It didn't start out with, opiates or anything like that for me. It was I used to pride myself in thinking like I'll try anything once. Like I thought that was like a virtuous thing, I thought that I was cool because of that. And I was very much so like that. I wanted to like experience everything and I wanted to move away. I wanted to like get away from my parents' house as soon as possible. I moved out like it was like a little bit after I graduated. I remember I kind of like stole this experience from my parents. Like they didn't get to have that experience of like being with me to move me out or being like this, joyful thing. Like I was pissed. I packed my stuff up while my dad was at work. I was getting out of there and then, well, dad, can you move my furniture actually like next weekend, and like he did that. My dad was always there for me too. Me and my dad were very, very close. He used to call me his butterfly. And I was thinking about that recently, like how fitting that is now of like how much of a transformation I've had. So that's a nice thing. But so let's see. So I after I moved out, I graduated high school early. Like I was the cheerleader. I was like the only cheerleader that smoked cigarettes at the time. Like I was just like this bad girl, but like only I knew it. Like nobody knew I was smoking cigarettes, nobody like on the cheer squad or anything. So I very much so was like leading this like double life. But I remember from a very young age always feeling like a bad girl. Like I remember that from early on, like wishing that I could be good and not knowing why I couldn't be good and knowing that I was like a black sheep basically. Definitely from like all my cousins. Like my cousins were, in church and they were like these good kids and you never heard anything. But, I'd always hear my mom calling family members like, you'll never guess what Dylan and Karlee did. It's like, oh my God. Like, so that was just kind of how it was. Um, but so I moved out and alcohol for the first time, like took a significant hold on me. I remember like having like bags of wine I moved out with two other girls over off of like Broadway and Grand or something like that. And it was just crazy. There's like this guy who like this older man who lived upstairs. Like, I don't know, it was just a weird thing. But we would have these like bags of wine and we were just drinking all the time. And so I'm like trying to go to OTC part time and work at Applebee's and I'm just wasted like 24/7. And I remember dropping out of school and like my dad's parents, I was really close with my grandma. I felt like my grandma understood me in ways that like no other woman really understood me. And I remember she'd come over and she'd like bring me cleaning supplies and stuff for my house and like try to buy my school books, like they're just trying to help me, just thinking that I was gonna, I don't know, like stick with school and stuff, I guess, but I couldn't pull that off. So my story does include like drugs and stuff. It didn't end with that, but it was definitely mixed in there. I started doing methamphetamines after that, and that really escalated everything to a point that that I had not. I mean, I don't even know. It was insanity. And it went dark. It went just really, really, really dark. And I was doing things that I said I would never do. That list of things, I'll never be that. And I was like quickly marking all that stuff off. And so I'm still working. I still got a job and everything. I'm like the only one working in that house. And I have these boyfriends all the time. None of them work. They all just drive my car around. But I was cool with it because they'd like give me free drugs and stuff. So I was like, okay, like you can take the car. It's fine. So that was like the type of guys I was looking forward to, was just like nothing going for them. And I don't know. I guess like I don't know why, but my self-worth was low. It just was like I don't feel that way today, thank God. Like, and that's because of recovery, but it was like that for a long time. And so I didn't want to spend a whole bunch of time on the past, because I feel like the really awesome stuff has happened when I got sober. But just briefly, the things that really impacted me before I got sober, I was living away from my parents' house, and but I would still spend a lot of time with my parents. And I remember my dad, he had said one day, he's like got this pain in his stomach. And so we had a family doctor in Nixa that we went to like, our whole lives. And so I went with him to the doctor's office and just got the checkup. And like a week later, the doctor calls and says, you guys have to come in to get these results back. And so me, my mom, and my dad go in there, and I remember the doctor said, you got cancer. And so that was like, just a punch to the gut. I was like, holy shit. Like, it was just like totally earth shattering. And what did I do? Like, I left and I went straight to the gas station. I got some shooters of Fireball and I drove around Nixa. I drove around Nixa drinking and thinking like, and I didn't believe in God at that time, but I'm like praying to this God. I'm praying to something like, please let my dad be okay. And I'd have these moments where I'd think like, like people get healed from cancer. Like that happens, like miracles happen. So, and it was so early on, we didn't really know anything yet. So, I don't know. I moved back in with my parents at that time. And like, I'm very thankful for that time that I got with my parents, because I had kind of slowed down. Like I had gotten off of the harder drugs. And so I was just drinking, and it wasn't like as crazy, but it was still kind of crazy. But I was maintaining. It was like pretty functional at that point. So I got to spend a decent amount of time with my parents. But my dad, he had a very rare, very aggressive form of kidney cancer, and it spread all throughout his body, like very rapidly. And like my parents, man, they were just like each other's people. Like they didn't have like a bunch of like social things that they did when we were growing up. Like it was them. Like my dad would go to Kohl's with my mom, and he'd sit in the car while she went in and shopped, or, they were just always together. So, going through that with her, it was just absolutely devastating. And his stomach would like enlarge, and then it'd go down. We had to take him to the hospital, and within 6 months he had passed away. And then I remember the night that he had passed away, I remember like, sorry, this is kind of vulnerable, but I ended up changing his diaper for the last time. And I remember thinking like, what a beautiful circle of life moment that I got to do for my father. Like, and that was like very healing for me on so many levels of our relationship, that maybe things didn't get said, but it was like that thing just felt like I maybe had like righted some wrongs or something in a way. I don't know. It just felt very, like I said, very full circle. And so, me and my mom were just like buddies after that. So we're just like, going through this shit. Like, I mean, it was just crazy after someone, a parent dies. Like, I don't even know. You just don't even know what to do. You're just taking the steps and moving forward. Luckily at that time, I was a part of an organization called School of Metaphysics. And that was like my first kind of like, I guess, real connection with spirituality. I didn't really have that growing up or anything, but the School of Metaphysics like offered that to me, and I was learning things like meditation and breathing techniques um, and visualization and different things. And you had to be at that every week at the same time. If you missed one day, you couldn't miss 2 consecutive weeks, or they'd kick you out. And so that gave me like a level of discipline that I, wasn't really accustomed to. And I'm thankful for that, because I really feel like at that time, if I hadn't been like tied down to something, that I would have really went off the rails. Um, but so after that, I was working at a bar. So I quit the bar and I'm like going to First Watch, and I'm like, I'm going to get this job, this day job. And that's going to solve my problems, because I'm not going to be working in a bar anymore. And they don't serve alcohol. So like, I really thought like if I could work daytime hours, like that would solve my problem. And it did not. It come to find out that's not a solution. So but I do well at that job. I do really good. Like I was a server, worked up to be like lead server. Then I worked up to be a manager, and they asked me to go open up the Sunshine location. So I do that. But I'm like, my drinking is increasing and increasing. Like every day that especially once I became a manager, like that level of responsibility I was not used to. And I had also left a 7-year long relationship at that time. And so I was like really just like in some shambles. Like I'm, you know, trying to open this new store. I've never been a manager. I don't know what I'm doing. And me and my boss are actually drinking all the time together, my GM. And so that was like just a shit show. And so we're like just these, I mean, I don't know if he was one of us, but I could only assume, but we're both drinking the same and we're trying to open this store. And finally, like, I thank God for one of my bosses, because she knew me very well, and she had a reality check with me, and she's like, Karlee, you have to get your shit together. Like, what is going on with you? I know something's going on. And she knew that I had like history of drug use in the past and stuff, but she didn't know like anything really about alcoholism or anything. But she knew of meetings, and she knew that I used to go to meetings, and she said, you need to get to a meeting like now, like basically like we're going to take you from the Sunshine. You're coming back to the national location, and I was going to become a server again to relieve some of the stress and everything, because I just could not handle life at all at that point. So it's kind of like, you're going to lose your job too. Like, so you need to go to a meeting. And so I remember trying to go to the Park Crest meeting at the old location. Or I went to one meeting and the meeting wasn't there. So I told her, I'm like, I went, but no one's there, And so, well, a couple months later I go again, and I end up going to Park Crest. And there was a guy that I had worked with, and he was like court ordered to go to meetings. So he was already going. And so I was thinking, okay, like if I could just meet him there, like I know somebody, I'll just go with him. And I ended up seeing somebody who's in the program now, Logan. I ended up seeing Logan there. And me and Logan used to run around together. Like Logan used to know my brother. And so like I knew Logan was crazy. Like I had seen the shit that Logan did, and I saw this person who was like not the person that I knew. And it really struck me. Like it really, really had an impact on me. And I thought, if he can do it, like there's hope for me. And so like that part of it, I can see in that respect of like why it's important to keep going to meetings, because you never know who's going to walk in there and know you from the past and think, oh, wow. Like, and give them hope. Cause he certainly gave me hope that night. And, shortly after that, like, I asked his fiance at the time to be my sponsor. Like it was like the second meeting, I was like ready to get this stuff going. By that time, like I was so tired of feeling the way that I felt on the inside. Like it wasn't the job, it wasn't the pressure from that. It was truly that like I could not stand to like tell myself I was going to do something and repeatedly go against myself over and over and over again, and like make these horrible decisions whenever I'm drunk and wake up and think like, what am I doing? Like, and really hurting myself, like hurting my self-esteem, like, over and over again. And that's just like a pitiful place to live, like you could have perfect outside conditions, but if the insides don't feel good, like it's just not worth it. And so me and Kelly, we started working steps every week, and I like threw myself into AA 100%. Like I realized that I had to like kind of live in AA for a little while. Like I would get off work and I'd go to a meeting, and my bosses at the time, like my managers, knew what I was doing, so they would let me leave a little bit early to hit some of the earlier meetings at like 3 and 4 o'clock, and that just became my regular for a while. And I remember like, man, I would like get off work and I would want to drink so bad, but I would know that I wasn't going to do it. And I remember like driving in my car, like holding the steering wheel, just like screaming at the top of my lungs because I was so uncomfortable and so like pissed off, like just and uncomfortable and just irritable, like that. I knew I was making a different choice this time, and there's no escaping it. There's nothing that I can do to make this go away. There's nothing I can do to make it feel better. I just have to sit in it. And, that went on for a little while. And I just like am grateful for the grace that my work gave me and the people around me gave me, because I know that I was like emotionally unwell. But they were very supportive. Like all the people in my life have genuinely been very supportive, and I'm grateful for that. So let's see. Okay. So I work at First Watch for like 4 years, and, okay, let's see. My first year of sobriety. So I went to a young people's conference in St. Louis, and they threw me in to be the like not commissary. What is it? The food where they get food? It's that's jail. Commissary, that's jail, but it's not that. Mm. Hospitality. Thank you. I guess the commissary might as well be the same thing. Um so I'm doing hospitality chair, and I'm like, I have no idea what I was doing. Oh, and then they told me that like, oh, you're going to introduce one of the speakers. I'm like, oh my God, you're going to make me get up there and do this. And I'm like only like 5 months, maybe 4 months sober. I was like, it was insane for me. But that experience like had a huge impact on me. It had a huge impact on my first year of sobriety, because it felt really good for the first time to do something super uncomfortable and like know that I was like pushing myself to be better. Like I'm doing the things that people are asking me to do. I'm like part of this organization. Things are getting a little bit better. And I finally like have some like pride in myself for the first time in a long time. And even if things aren't like going like 100%, like I'm feeling, pretty good. And I felt like once I got into AA, it was like it hit me with like truth that I could start to build my life on. Like I had never experienced something where that I couldn't like find faults in, like in the big book, like man, it's profound. That book is really, really profound. And it just spoke to me in a way that like I knew it was truth. Like I was hearing truth about myself and understanding things for the first time. And so it just felt good to be on the right path. And so I had planned, I'm like very before this, and it's probably at that point, so like very like emotionally dependent on men, like I want to be loved, and I have all this love to give, and blah 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 blah. But I knew like getting sober that like I did not want to do that again. Like I did not want to like get trapped in that. And so I said like, okay, I'm gonna be celibate the first year. And that was like honestly like the best thing that I could have done for myself, because it really gave me like not having that distraction gave me this opportunity to really focus on myself in a way that I had never focused on myself, because I was always worried about like somebody else and how is he feeling? What is he thinking? Da, 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 da. It was never like, okay, do I actually want this, or how is this benefiting my life, or is this going the direction that I want to go? It was never about that. It was like, okay, if you're validating me in some kind of way and making me feel good in some kind of way, then let's just go with that. Even if it was destructive to me later on. I just didn't have a good picker, and and so this guy comes along, and he's like, I had heard tale that he had talked to some other girls in the program, and I'm thinking, I'm not going to be one of your girls. Like, I'm not doing it, so I like fend him off for a while, but he's very persistent. And he just kept hitting me up on Facebook Messenger, like sending me these things and these random things. And I'm like, and it was Adam. Okay. And so Adam goes back with my brother too. So I like kind of knew of him, but I didn't like know him. So, the persistency is key, I think. But, so we finally decided to just hang out, and I was like, we just talked and decided that we were going to take things very slow. And so that was like the first relationship that I had been in where it wasn't just like, boom, like we're going all the way straight for it. You know, we actually took our time like to get to know each other very well. And we ended up getting like snowed in together. So I was still living at my mom's house. So he's like coming over to my mom's house, which just sounds silly, but we had gotten snowed in there. And like, I'm like, oh my God, I'm snowed in at my mom's house with Adam Niffin. Like, what is going on? But so, you know, I realized like finally, like we went to another young people's conference and everything. And we were, on the Mosky Paw, board and everything. And so we're doing a lot of AA together and I realized I kind of like him and everything. And so like, okay, like let's, you know, we decided to be together and, you know, like true alcoholic fashion, we're like a month later, like, let's move in together. He said, you just need to come move in with me and let's just get it going. We'll just see how it goes, but we need to just do it. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. Like, I guess I will. So we move in together and everything's good. It's going good. And we decide like after being together for 3 months, like, let's have a baby. And that's insane to me. Like, I'm like, what? So at 3 months of a relationship, living to like, oh my God, it's just insane when I think about it. Like we, you know, we got pregnant right like that. And so like I think about that, I'm like, wow, I really got pregnant at like literally like a year sober. Like that is, I mean, I just don't even know who I was. And I still feel like I'm still figuring that out. But it's just like boom, 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 you know, and so I ended up, before like me and Adam got together, I was wanting a job that was remote and I was wanting to work from home or like I really wanted to travel at that time. And so he owned his own business and he's like, this is one of the ways he got me in there. He's like, I have this position for you. Like I've got it all figured out. You can work for me and you can do, you know, the computer stuff and everything. You don't have to work at First Watch. And I'm like, okay, like, yeah, let's do that. And then I ended up like buying into the business 50-50. And so then we're dating, we're pregnant, we're 50-50 business owners. We're just like, we've totally just went in 100%. And I'm so grateful that that worked out because it sounds so fast. But it's been like the most exciting journey. It really has. And you know, whenever I was working at First Watch, I remember early mornings I'd see these running groups and I would think like, man, it'd be like running at like 6 a.m. You know, I was like just pulling into work and I think I wish I could be like that. Like someday I want to do that. Like I wish that I could be out there doing that. And I had a friend who her mother-in-law was a marathon runner. And so I'd always see her online, like posting her marathon pictures. And I thought like, that's awesome. Like I want to be that type of mom. I want to be that, you know, but I was so like far away from that at that point that, I don't know. I just didn't really see that was necessarily like possible, but I definitely like admired it. And like you guys, it's so cool because sobriety can give you like everything that you want. God can provide for you the things that you desire, you know, whenever you're making the right decisions. Because, you know, today, like I have this group of running friends that I run with now and I'm running the marathons and doing the things. And I remember thinking like, I wish I had like a group of girls. Like when I first started running, I was pushing the stroller all the time and I was mainly by myself or I was running with the guys, but the guys were way faster than me. So I'm like back there by myself with a stroller. And that was like my running for like the first, I don't know, like couple years. But now that I met these like amazing women that I get to run with, and that's like, you know, an answered prayer right there. Like the things that you desire and the goals that you have, like you can really accomplish them. And you know, that's been my experience. Like I feel like getting sober and building this relationship with God, like I started slowly seeing that if I put effort into things, like I can make stuff happen with the help of God, obviously. Like but I can do things like I can actually create a life that I dream of. And, you know, I remember like whenever like The Secret came out and hearing about the law of attraction and manifestation, all that, I was like so into that back in the day. But like now I can actually like, I actually experience that. And it's not like some woo woo thing. It's like, oh no, it's really like you think about things and you put energy into stuff and you pray about things and you know, what you work towards, you can accomplish it. And so, you know, everything was good for, I'll go back to after the first year of sobriety. So after I had Eliza, my daughter is Eliza. So I had her and that changed things for me, obviously significantly. I was accustomed to going to meetings every Tuesday and Friday. Like that was my thing. It was here at Parkrest. That was what I did. That's how it was. Well, after I had her, like I didn't leave the house for the first 30 days. And I did that purposefully because I really wanted to like bond with her, but then that like extended out into like 3 months of like me hardly really leaving the house. Like I'd leave the house sometimes, but I was like mainly in the house. And it was very difficult for me to go to meetings because I like didn't want anybody to hold her. I was very, very particular, wouldn't let her stay with anybody either. So it made it difficult to do the things that I was, accustomed to doing because I hadn't figured out how to navigate that yet. And so I got very sick. Like I was still praying to God, but like there's a difference between like, having the relationship with God and then having a relationship with God and working AA, like, and working the steps and working with sponsor, like working with people, like, and I have to have both of those things. And I know that about myself now. I was thinking that maybe I didn't have to have AA there for a minute. Like I remember before I started working with Danielle again, I was so frustrated and fed up with like, because I tried to go to a meeting and it was like that when I would go to a meeting, it would end up sometimes being worse than not going because she was upset. And I was so like anxiety ridden and psychotic about like my child that like I would just work myself up to where like I couldn't even be in a meeting because I'd be so worried about her crying and so worried about it making noise for other people and what other people thinking about me and like do they think I'm a bad mom, like all of this like psychosis, really, like it was intense. And so I was like, well, I'm just not going to go. Like, I'm not going to AA anymore. And I remember telling Adam that I said, I'm done with AA. I'm done. I'm not going to go anymore. And I don't even remember what he said, but I remember halfway meaning that. But like, that's kind of how it was getting to be anyways. Like we had parted away from it quite a bit because life got busy, the business got busy. He's traveling a lot. Like when she was first born, he was, working a lot out of town. And I could have every excuse in the world why I was just not going to go to a meeting that night. And so I think it was like the next day I decided to go to SOS. And thank God for SOS, like in this, the chill atmosphere of that meeting, because that was not one that I really went to before I had Eliza, but that has become like a go-to meeting for me. Like I let Eliza go into the childcare here now, but early on I was not going to be away from her. And SOS has that childcare area where you can just go sit back there and you can be with your baby and it doesn't matter how loud your kid is, like they're just used to the crazy and they don't care. And it's like a beautiful thing for moms and for dads. But I remember going and when it was a great meeting. I remember hearing Danielle speak. Like I'd always loved Danielle. I always thought like, man, she's on fire for AA. Like she has it just in her, like, and it just radiates to everybody else. Like she's got a passion for that I deeply admire. And I thought, and I didn't have I went through a few sponsors at that time. Like I've never been one to really call my sponsor, I don't know. Like I just always think I can figure it out. But so I saw her and I was like, I just had this thought on the way home, like, I'm going to ask Danielle to be my sponsor. Like, I'm going to do that. And I think that was 100% God because, like a week before I was ready to be done with AA. But what I found was like, okay, I can go to this noon meeting and I can be here with my daughter and like, it's going to be okay. And I basically had like a second surrender to AA at that point. Like, holy shit, like I have to have it. Like I absolutely have to have it. And I don't think I even knew how sick I was until I was back in the rooms again. And then like we're talking about resentments and I'm like thinking about resentments again. And, I had this idea that like a resentment had to be this like huge big thing that's like staring you in the face all the time. But really a resentment can just, it's like something you re-feel. So like even if it's not extremely intense, if I'm feeling it again and thinking about it again over and over and over and over again, like that's a problem. And that stuff will eat at us, and I had a lot of stuff that was doing that at that time. And so, we worked back through the steps and everything. And like, I feel like I was starting to become myself again because I had just really like went into this like motherhood den where I was just like just me and her and Adam. And now all of a sudden I'm like, okay, my life is like exploding again. Like I'm around people again. I just had to go through, I guess I just had to go through that time of like stepping away for a little bit. I don't know, but it felt really good to be like social again. And I think a part of it too was like I was breastfeeding for 2 whole years. So it just took, it changed that's like the my biggest accomplishment too. Like I'm so proud of myself for that one thing, like sticking that out, because that's like the hardest thing I've ever done. But that just significantly changed my life. So it it just wasn't as easy to do the things that I once did. Um but yeah, so I got social again, and tried to start working with women and trying to figure out, like, okay, how do I do AA as a mom now? Like, because it's not the same. It is not the same as it was before. It's very, very different. And I realized, like, I had some resentments about that too. Like my life, like she's the best thing in the entire world. Like I'm so grateful for her. Like all I've ever wanted to do is be a mom, truly. But at the same time, like there's things that, because it is difficult, and then I feel like with the mom guilt, like we don't talk about it. So then it just like eats at you and eats at you. And then you're just, then you're just in this place where you're not talking to anybody about it. You're not sharing anything about it, but you're struggling, but so it's just like this cycle. So me, like being able to realize that, like, I didn't have to be like perfect. I didn't have to be a perfect mom. I didn't have to do sobriety perfect. I didn't have to be like this perfect person that I was like trying to, like, that's what a lot of my inventory work showed me with Danielle, is like I'm constantly like striving to be this perfect person. And like that's just not like totally necessary. Like it's good to strive. It's definitely good to strive, for those things. But I think I do it to an extent where like it maybe is unhealthy. But and maybe just not being able to be vulnerable about it too, like not being able to share like, hey, this is what I'm struggling with or whatever. But so let's see. I'm trying to think what else. So oh, well, I guess I could also talk about like just the dreams that I had that have come true. Like I said, I always wanted to be a mom, and I always wanted to homeschool my kids. And I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. Like I was never this woman who had these aspirations of like, being in business or, having this career or doing anything. Like I genuinely just like wanted to be a mom. Like, I just want to be a mom and stay home and raise my kids. And that has happened, like that is like the most exciting thing, is like I get to stay home with my daughter, and I'm like very, very fortunate for that, and very grateful for that ability to do that. But I would not have any of that if I didn't have my sobriety, and so I have to think about that a lot. Like, because I am with her all day, like I am her main source of like everything, so like my emotional stability is like very important. I think mothers like are the heartbeat of the house, and so I think like it is especially important just for women, I guess I'll just speak for myself, just for me to have a good, you know, be okay emotionally. And so today, like in recovery, um, I don't do things exactly like perfectly. I really don't. I feel like even through this talk, I'm just realizing things about myself. Like, me and Danielle were doing, we were texting each other every time we do our 10 step at night, going back and forth, texting each other. And like, there's so many days that like, I just tell her like, I'm in like full blown rebellion against, like, I don't want to do it. Like and there is things I just don't want to do it, and I can talk myself into thinking that I don't need it. But the more that I can get like sincere about like really analyzing myself, like, a lot of those times at night, it's like blah, 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 blah. You just check the boxes. I'm not really, my heart's not in it. But if my heart's in it, then I can have a totally different experience with it. And it feels good to be like self-accountable, versus just like checking a box, but I feel like that's all I have to say, you guys. Like, I don't know. I'm feeling like I'm coming to a point where I'm like, what else do I talk about? So yeah, I think I will pass.